Welcome to the Game of Risk, everyone. I'm your host, OliveXC, a top player at this game, and today I'm going to be commenting over round 5 of the Classic Risk Championship. There are 3 games and 3 chances to advance, and I am competing against 5 other top players: Risky Phil, Arco, Glacio, King John, and J-Knot. So I'm very excited to be commenting over this. If you want to see the raw footage, I will link in some of the other competitors' games who've already commented on this. In this game, what I immediately notice is the orange player, Phil, is already close to getting Africa. And this is a voice chat that's done like in the raw footage for these games. So King John and Phil, they basically make a deal where King John will take over South America and reinforce it here, and then Phil will then take over Africa. And King John would just probably self-destruct his 2, and then Phil would take that, and then you'd have a 2 strong point guard. And guys, this is the quarterfinals. We are competing against some of the very best players in the world. And I knew that if I allowed my competitors to have this many troops extra per turn, either Phil or King John were going to win the game easily, right? So it was no disrespect to them, but I could not allow them to take over the continent. So I made a deal with Glacio, the black player, and I told him if I attack Africa, he can place all of his troops on his 2 and break South America. And guys, Glacio said yes, so I do end up breaking him. Now, this was already a little bit confrontational. I admit this is very confrontational. We can see Risky Phil was down to just 17 troops after like placing his troops down. He's really behind now. King John is also weaker, but at the same time, right, like they were basically saying one of us is going to win the game, and it's unlikely that you guys have a chance to win the game. And when I look at my game, I do notice that within Australia, I don't really have like anything there. So it's already going to be very hard for me to take out like a green, black, yellow. That's going to be very challenging for me. I'm mostly top in like the top part of the map. I don't really have a lot like in South America. So my setup is not the best. So now I'm just going to be speeding ahead a little bit because nothing else really happens until players start putting in their cards. Yeah, and then we can see even after all those like early game shenanigans that had like occurred, we can see I'm still on par with the other players. Glacio is like I'm still on par. Phil is a little bit behind. So unfortunately, I don't think he has a chance to win game 1 unless another player makes a mistake. What I also notice at this time is a lot of the players have some very good options in order to take me out. As an example, Arco has perfect lines on me. His like 8 can take me out here. His 7 can sweep in here to take me out. His 7 here hits me. The green player, J-Knot, also has some very good lines this game, and he could potentially eliminate me. I also noticed that King John may potentially have lines on green, but as green is going to be trading in, it'll be a very risky and unlikely kill. You'll also notice if you look in the top left-hand corner a little bit, like for some reason my connection, you can see this right here, the commenting right here, I had some problems with my internet today. Like I had no idea what was going on. It's just one of those weird off days. I don't know. It's just one of those days where things appear to be going like wrong a little bit. But thankfully, I am able to trade in. I have a healthy lead in troops. And if I'm able to get like a set on 3, I would definitely trade in here given the level of play and competitors that I am dealing with. Even if I were to trade in though, I would not be able to take anybody out. I do have good lines to eliminate the orange player, Phil. However, I wouldn't be able to trade in turn, so it would not make sense for me to be eliminating him. So that line doesn't really help me. King John and like Phil again are stuck here. Glacio, I may potentially have lines on. So that I'm keeping in my back pocket as like my trump card. And now here, Phil, he does have a set on 3, and he does a really good move attacking Siberia. And this move is really good because the green player now is not going to have access to me to attack my territory here. This means that the only player that has good lines in order to eliminate me is Arco. Nobody else can take me out except the yellow player. But as the yellow player is before me in the turn order, if like King John, Green, and Phil traded and are unable to eliminate, he would be getting the 20, like the 35 trade-in and 70 troops in order to take out 40. A player of Arco's level would be very easy for him to do this. So I'm using the voice chat and I'm communicating this to the other players. Again, Phil has already traded in. He can't be doing anything right now. Arco is just doing his standard laughing and whatnot. I do inform him not to attack my one here, and again, he has a lot of other easy ones that he can go for, so it's not a big deal for him. And at this point, I am just waiting for my set on 4, hoping that I can stay alive, but like, things do not look good. I'm also debating if I should be trying to hit one of Arco's stacks, but that really wouldn't work because I would just get very weak and then the white player would eliminate me. So I'm kind of just stuck in a catch-22, and I just throw my hands up in the air and... Guys, I have no set on 4. There's nothing I could have done here. And after Phil takes his turn, because again, while he has a lot of troops, he doesn't have any good lines to eliminate the other players because he couldn't do anything. And the green player also has no set. So this is basically King John's only opportunity here. He starts placing a lot of troops down. He overplaces right here because he didn't have a lot of troops in the first place. I would have probably made this like about like a 7 and placed a little more troops here to give himself like a little bit higher odds. And now he is going for the 6-10 this one point here because I think he underplaced, but he had an awful roll losing 9. I think if I was King John though, I think I still would have gone for the play because even if the odds are like 20% to be successful, 20% is higher than 0%. Guys, this is going to be a bloodbath. Arco has the set on 4. He eliminates the green player from the game. And he has perfect lines now with the 35 trade-in now to eliminate me. And he's just going to be able to clean up this game immediately. Arco had the good luck, good timing, and even better execution. And I'm really happy to be seeing a top competitor like him advancing to the semifinals. He's an excellent member of the Risk community, and he absolutely deserves it. So I will just speed through, show you guys Arco cleaning everybody up, and we will move on to game 2, which is 70% fixed balance blitz. And all right, let's move on to game number 2. And let's see who can advance. You'll notice immediately that I, as the red player, have the majority of my troops in North America. So that's going to be the continent that I want to go for. King John, the white player, has a very good spot for Europe. The green player has a very good spot for Africa. Here, I think Phil made a little bit of a mistake because he had the majority of his troops over in Asia. I feel like it would have made a lot more sense for Phil to be going for Asia given this, and then he could have asked Glacio just kind of like to use up his troops here. Instead, he was trying to make a play for South America. And I didn't really like that because there's a lot of troops down here that we had to navigate out of the way to give him South America. And that required a lot of complicated movements. Whereas a play like King John, he had a very easy line to take over Europe in a couple of turns. Likewise, I had to move my troops out of Argentina, which was going to be taking some time. I also had to move my troops out of Madagascar for the green player, which would be taking some time. And Black also wanted to move his troops out of Peru and North Africa. And basically, with me needing to move out, Black needing to move out, Green needing to move out, me needing to move up, this would just basically take like a large number of turns. Like you can already see, right? Glacio has a beautiful, simple line immediately to go and take over Australia. But all of this movement taking place and like Phil wanted to connect, like I just feel it would have been a lot better for Phil to be going for Australia this game, and in Glacio, it would have been a lot easier for him to be going for South America this game. It would have just like kind of reduced the complications and would have prevented the white player from getting an early game advantage. Now you notice here on my turn, I'm trying to think about how to move my troops out of Africa to try to speed up people moving, but I realized that the attack I made was a mistake. Now, what Glacio should be doing immediately is he should be placing all of his troops on his 3 and then attacking outwards this way. But he makes a mistake and he instead just takes over Australia immediately. I understand where he was like coming from because he just wanted his continent. And since he has a small continent, he's trying to be getting an early game advantage for himself. However, the challenges of doing that is now Phil is unable to group his troops together unless he attacks the 3, and Phil is a really nice guy. Additionally, because Phil cannot no longer attack to move his troops outward, so Glacio can also move his troops outward, it delays everybody by a turn. King John gave a very fair ultimatum to the players, he's the white player by the way, that he's going to be taking over Europe the next turn, and he is not afraid to hit anybody in order to be proving a point. So now we are in a very dangerous situation where King John is one of the world's top free-for-all players. He doesn't really train like as much, just comes in and just wins his games. Like he is such an incredible natural talent, and the Risk community is very lucky to have him. But as of right now, I'm admittedly terrified. When I think about the theory of 70% in the 5-player game, the worst position to be in is South America because the North Africa player will be placing a lot of troops here, and the North America player will be placing a lot of troops here. So the South America player can leave some troops in Asia, but they otherwise are going to be having very limited mobility to go for the 70%. Likewise, the Australia player, Glacio, well, he has a couple of troops. He doesn't have any easy natural guard to kind of move in, and he's going to fall behind on the troop generation. And while people think North America is very good because of the extra troops, well, the only border you guard very easily is South America. That's only like 3 territories out of the 30 that you need, because 30 is divided by 42 is about the 70%. You can't easily break through the middle of the map, and you have to take over a large amount of Europe and Africa in order to get there, because normally the Australian player leaves the majority of their troops there. So North America is actually a little bit more like a trap play. Like it's definitely like the middle option, but unless another play makes a mistake or there's easy lines for you to get, you can't really go for the win easily. So that means the best players that have an opportunity to go for the win are the European player and the Africa player. The Africa player, the strength of Africa is its mobility to move around the map in order to attack. Its weakness is its lack of defensive capability because players can attack it from so many different angles, right? However, in very high-level play, when people are recognizing and understanding that attacking another player would just weaken everybody else, you just need to be trying to go for the 70%. Here we're seeing a lag spike, by the way, you guys. My connection is just very bad today, which is just very, very ominous for me. I am able to get my continent right now, despite all the connection issues that I'm currently dealing with. And I immediately prioritize my guard up over King John. Again, I'm very worried about him because, again, the challenge is Glacio taking one extra turn to move his troops away and taking his continent early, set everybody else back. We can see that King John has a 10-troop lead, and you can see right here, guys, he did not have an early set. If he had like a set on like on 3 like or 4 and was trading in like immediately while the board was still opened up, I truly believe that he would have had a chance to win right here. Frankly, we are just very, very lucky that he was not able to go for it. But thankfully, everybody is now trading in their sets. The board has stabilized. People are going to be getting their continents. And now we're going to be entering the stage of the game where people are trying to calculate lines. At the highest levels, you really want to try to count out your territories before going for it. And a lot of the earlier rounds, a lot of people just try to go for it to see if they're able to get it. They end up using the majority of their troops. They failed around like high 50s, low 60s%, and they're like 3 to 4 territories off. And then since they clear out the board, the next person is able to go for the attack. Now, one thing that I do is I start leaving my troops here in China. I think that is, looking back, a little bit of a mistake because right now I was a little worried about Glacio. And this part of the game becomes a very large stalemate. So I'm just going to move ahead a little bit. As you can see, guys, this is the magic of editing and just me like re-recording this over for you. We are all kind of talking right here, trying to think of like lines and like what to do. You'll notice that I made a deal with King John to stop placing troops here. This is beneficial to King John because he has access to go through North America if he wants to. I do make a mistake, though, where Phil and I stop placing troops here. The green player, because he has a 60 right here and will have the attacker's advantage, he can kind of go through South America and North America, attacking all of these territories. And then because he has his extra stack right here, he will then be able to take over the extra territories that he needs. To prevent him from getting those extra territories is I really needed to hit this earlier, and that would have caused the game to make it harder because while green would have been able to kind of like break through the middle here to go through like Europe, he would not have been able to access like this part and these territories, and we would have not been able to access these territories. And with a couple of the really large stacks on the map, he would have been off by, I think, 1 or 2 territories. So this was a very big mistake on my end. The other thing that happened that was of note is during the voice chat, King John asked Risky Phil to move his troops to this territory here. There's actually a bit of a nefarious purpose behind this. King John would have tried to go for the run immediately. You can see he has about 8 to 9 territories at any given time. He would have attacked here for 3, 6, 8 territories, putting him at 17. He would have smashed through here, all through Australia and these territories for 7, giving him another 16, putting him at 25. And then finally, he would go through attacking these 5 territories, putting him at 30. So I did inform Phil to leave his troops on Afghanistan. And then you can see right here, like with my mouse, I'm just trying to count the territories, trying to think about what I can do at this time. Phil and I should have placed more troops here to be equaling or being slightly exceeding the 60 troops that the green player was leaving. Because of this, and I'll just speed ahead to that moment. Yeah, guys, the green player makes one of the most beautiful moves I've seen because King John let the light guard here. He goes in for the attack, attacking those territories. And then with his 60, he goes through, breaks through everything with lots of troops to spare. And even though he's a little bit nervous, he gets 70% on the dot. What an absolutely incredible move by J Knott, the green player. And congratulations to him for advancing to the semifinals. He is a prodigy at this game, and he absolutely deserved it. let's head on to game number 4, which is the 4-player, 70% fixed with true random dice. So here we have the game. In the 4-player game, one player should be taking over Australia and South America. One player should be taking over Africa. One player should be taking over Europe. And one player should be taking over North America. That leaves to like a pretty good equality. While the Africa player has a little bit less troops, they are able to have a little bit more mobility. And that mobility could give them an opportunity to go like for a run as needed. The other thing to be keeping in mind in the 4-player game is territory count. You really have to pay more attention to how many territories somebody has. 28% means that someone is on 12 territories. So someone does have to hit like a 1 of Glacio or they are going to be getting ahead. And we can see as this game is developing, Phil is going for Europe. Once again, I am going to be going for North America. And I make a deal with Glacio here where I decide to self-destruct my troops in Australia. And he will be self-destructing one of his troops in North America to make it a little bit easier for me to move. Eventually, Phil should be able to move his troops out of here like as well to help him. And I make a deal where I move my 6 a little bit earlier, and he just moves his 2 out of the way. So that way we can both get our continents earlier. The only challenge for me is with King John. King John has always been like a little bit like annoyed with me. Because in prior tournament games, since I was honestly like a little bit worried about his skill level and how good like he is, I was focused like a lot on him. And in the last game, when I told Phil not to move his troops from Afghanistan like to this territory, it prevented King John from going for the win. And he was just being like a little bit more like apprehensive. So he would move out of the way like if absolutely needed, but he didn't want to do me any favors, and like rightfully so. But regardless, we still have to play our game and do what we need to do to try and advance. So eventually, what I need to do is I need to move my troops and kind of consolidate them here. I also need to move my 4 upwards, and I need to get that into North America. And now King John is asking me to move, so I have to do a risky 5v2 roll. Now, normally a 5v2 is very likely, but with true random, because again, this is not balanced blitz, this is true random. Their maximum troop loss is unlimited, right? So you can lose any number of troops on a given attack. A 10v2 could even fail, for example. It can never be 100%. You have to be very sparing and careful when going through these attacks. We're also noticing like another like little mistake here. Glacio is taking a little bit of time to be moving his troops like away to allow the other players to take over their continents. So again, this is a little bit of a mechanical error on his end because this does slow us down a little bit. You'll also notice that King John is choosing to go for South America and Africa, so that I will be getting 5 troops per turn. King John will be getting 5 troops per turn. Phil will be getting the extra 5 troops per turn, but Glacio is only getting the +2. So the other players will be out-generating the black player, Glacio. So here we can see Phil is making his deal to move his troops like out of the way, and now King John has moved out of the way. I have to wait one more turn though, because you can see I'm very low on troops compared like to the other players after like the first 3 rounds, and I still need to move like this 4 up and give King John the opportunity to eventually take over South America. So I just had to do a lot of movement this game, which did weaken myself, and I'm gonna have to risk it attacking another 2. So I'm hoping that I will be able to take over North America shortly, but I may have to sacrifice another 4 for myself because now King John is making a really good play, taking over Africa very quickly. He is leading in troops. He is setting himself up for a good game. So on my turn, just skiing ahead a tiny bit, I turn in the 10 set immediately, and I'm just trying to think about how I can move my troops in. And I decide to try like rolling my troops down, single dice rolling them. And Guys, my dice keep working. And admittedly here, guys, I start getting a little bit nervous because I know that I'm running out of time. And I make a mistake here and I leave it 2 when King John was asking me to move. And at this point, I'm just going to be honest, the nerves were getting to me a little bit because I knew I was very lucky to be this deep in the tournament. In my round 4 game, the other player made a mistake, allowing me to win in the progressive game. And I'm in the most, I think, competitive group in the quarterfinals. So it is what it is. Thankfully, King John didn't lose like a lot of troops. It was no harm, no foul. He is slightly ahead in the total number of troops, so it's not crazily so. And I am defending my borders well. And Phil is trading in. He may have had it because he's at 13 territories. He just had to attack 17 more. Like his 6 could have we made that like a 15. He could have done a lot. He could have attacked through here, potentially got through it, but it would have been very, very risky for him to do so. So I understand him choosing to wait a little bit instead. I think, though, that was potentially a missed opportunity by Phil because I am a very big proponent of gunking everything up. And there's a little bit of a mistake right here, you guys, that Phil makes because, again, he's like a little bit nervous. He leaves his 5 right here, and I am unable to get a card right now. And now, Phil did not mean to do this. He was just nervous. I can tell that from his voice. So I have to card skip. The value of each card is worth 2.5, like 3 troops. And again, I still have a big continent, and I'm no longer last in troops. Glacio is going to be last in troops. But I basically tell Phil, if he does not move his troops on the next turn, that I'm going to have to attack someone. Yeah, but Phil is still staying on 12 territories. So he's still getting 9 per turn. So he is having a slight lead right now. Again, Phil is very close to being able to go for it, but now that I've created what in the true random community known as a Lego, when you leave a 2 in, it basically maximizes defensive and offensive capabilities, where I have my 3 main stacks ready to attack as necessary. But if anyone chooses to attack in North America, they risk losing 7 to 8 troops on any individual roll, dramatically decreasing the opportunity for them to get through all the territories in order to hit the 70%. If someone's thinking in a balanced blitz mindset, there's a high likelihood that they could overextend and then lose too many troops. King John as well right now is now creating a large number of Legos on his territories to defend himself. So he's playing this game, I think, near flawlessly. And as a player of his skill level, I'm not surprised. The only thing I wish I was doing, because we have a very natural trading spot here, is I just wish I left a couple of troops down here on Japan to make things a little bit harder for the other players to take out. Because again, every territory matters for me. You can see now that the board's kind of evened out, we've now entered a kind of stalemate scenario, and somebody's going to have to go for a very risky kill in order to go for the win. So I'm just moving ahead very slightly towards a climactic finish for this game. Now Glacio here makes a very good move where he puts his troops on India and China. This gives him a total of 7 territories that the board cannot go through. That means that there is only 5 extra territories somebody can't have. Because remember, there's 42 territories. You need 30 to win, with 7 basically unavailable unless you hit a massive stack. That makes it a lot harder for the other players to win. Glacio is trying to stalemate this. But guys, here is the big moment. Phil is ahead on troops. He is leaving everything down, calculating it out, and he has decided now is the time to go for the win. I didn't leave my extra troops on Japan, so he is able to break through and take it. But you can see the Legos are slowing him down. His rolls are okay, but not the best. So he's unable to get through the territories. And he is nowhere near close to being able to get it, you guys. He is 7 to 8 territories away. The dice were not bad. So I am slowing this down to 0.5 times because this is the critical moment of the game. I have to go forward right here and now. Immediately, I make a mistake because of nerves and things that are bothering me right now. I should have used my threes and tried to attack through North America because I barely have enough to go for because I have to attack through multiple Legos. I then immediately decided to go through and attack. I also kind of should have been attacking this territory before going downwards. This is going to force me to path possibly a little bit awkwardly, but I don't think that mattered like as much. I do also attack through South America, and that forces me to use up a couple of additional troops for only like one extra territory to attack. I also avoid the twos that are down here in Africa because I'm worried if I'm going to have enough troops because I'm trying to calculate this. But guys, my timer is running. This is my only chance. So I'm going for the attack. I have to get a couple more territories. I'm losing some ones. The dice are so close, and I'm just one territory away. I just didn't have enough. I could do a couple of rolls because I had any chance is better than 0%. I couldn't do it, you guys. I just didn't have enough. I should have used my threes in North America to try to get additional 3 or 4 territories, and maybe, just maybe, by the skin of my teeth, I could have got it. But it was so narrow, and the couple of troops I lost in the beginning. And guys, this means that the game is going to go to Glaceon, the black player. And I am so happy for him. This is one of his first tournaments that he's been doing really well in. He's been playing this game for so long. He is a champion at this game, and he absolutely deserves this. It has been an honor and a privilege playing with everybody here. Phil, King John, and I have been eliminated from the tournament, but it's been an honor and a privilege playing and advancing this far and showing these games to all of you. This is OliveXC, signing off.